Hello, comic book guys and gals, and welcome to Comic Mag Musings Live. This fella is your host, Bill Miller. So, wanted to start out today, and ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to do an unboxing of an AOK from TheJacksonRoykirk. We'll also do another unboxing from who knows where. But prior to that, I did want to proffer a question for those of you out there. Were there ever any comic books that got away from you that you very much regretted? Reason I ask is I went not too long ago. Hey, Custom Comic Shop, thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. So not too long ago, I went and picked up some Spider-Man, primarily Spider-Man, a couple X-Men comics from someone from Opera. Really cool guy. He had a long box of Spider-Man comics, mainly, maybe some late 80s through the 2000s. And he just wanted too much for him. Probably would have worked out to 50 cents a book. Not something I was prepared to do at the time. So I got, I think, 65 books from him for what I thought was a pretty good price. And then told him, maybe I'll reconnect with him after the end of the year and kind of see where he's at, where I'm at. But the more I thought about it, the more I probably could have negotiated and found something that we were both cool with, but I just didn't. We got James in here, James Gallegos. How are you, sir? Good to see you. TheJacksonRoykirk. You say his name 3 times, he shows up magically in the chat. So yeah, are there any deals? Sean, thanks for stopping in. Appreciate it. That you were interested in getting, that you were beaten out by someone else, or at the time it just wasn't right for you. Raul, how are you? Good to see you, sir. And you look back upon it with pangs of regret. So this is probably one. I suspect there were some pretty good books. It was late at night and there was very poor light, and I was rifling through it, and it was cold. It gets cold in Phoenix sometimes. Rifling through the books, picking this and that, but there were probably, I know there are some other good ones there. It's just everything kind of came together, and I said, yeah, you know what? This is what I'm willing to spend right now. And probably could have gotten a pretty good deal on the whole thing, but that's another thing, right? I got so many comic books. I'm just getting tired of bringing in crap. So I got to balance that out. And I got to start selling some raw comics. I got way too many ones that I'm just not interested in. And they're just taking up room, and they're really detracting from the ones that I am interested in. So something I got to let marinate for a little while and kind of figure out what I'm going to do there. But at any rate, I was just curious. I'm sure others have had a similar situation where a book or books got away from them, or they weren't comfortable at the time spending X amount of dollars, but then looking back upon it later, they realized that maybe that was a pretty good deal. Carlos, how are you, sir? Good to see you. So that was one. There have obviously been others, especially in Opera. Phoenix is very, very, very competitive when it comes to comic books, especially bronze and earlier, because there just aren't a lot, right? This is the state everyone moves to. People don't move from here. And when they move here, they pack up their essentials, usually from the North or the Northeast or California, and comic books aren't one of the essentials that they throw on that truck. So they get sold wherever they're at, and they move here with no comic books. So the preponderance of comics here are, would be 80s forward, copper into modern, or whatever people bring in here through internet transactions. So things like OfferUp and used to be, what's the one OfferUp bought? Let Go, right? Yeah. I would look on those too. And hey, Tim, good to see you, sir. Jackson says he always loose auctions, but he's cheap. So you're loose and cheap. Is that what you're saying? I'm confused by that, Jackson. Could you please clarify? This is a family show, sir. What's that? Oh, I guess you guys couldn't take your eyes off of my moniker here. Yes, I am indeed the Cover Slingers champion. I regained my belt yesterday in a much heated championship round against Jambo. And the Cover Slings theme was space covers. And so even though we had several space cadets on the panel, I managed to wrestle away the belt and once again bring it to a place of dignity around my waist. So yeah, I would say I think you did notice, sir. much to TheJacksonRoykirk's chagrin, I did win. Oh, giant sized X-Men 1. Yep. It's tough, isn't it? Because at the time, I mean, it's tough, right? Because hindsight is 20/20 oftentimes, right? And we usually don't look back on the deals that we passed up that subsequently the price of that book tanked. We usually don't look back on those, right? We remember the ones where it seemed like a stretch financially, perhaps, or it seemed a little bit overpriced based on whatever criteria you're using. Maybe you hadn't researched it much at the time, and then it shoots up, and you're like, oh man, I should have gotten that when I had the chance. And I think that's the way our brains work, right? And there could have been 20 that you passed up that you were smart to pass up, but those aren't the ones that come back to haunt you. I know through OfferUp. So like I was saying before, Mastodon, good to see you, sir. It's a lot of work, right? I'm an old man, so I'll see things on OfferUp and I'll be like, maybe. And Phoenix is huge, right? So am I willing to drive an hour and 15 minutes to a suburb that's southeast of where I'm at to look at something that I'm not terribly interested in? But sometimes those are the ones that pay off, right? Some of my best outings when I'm dealing with people selling comic books have been, they'll put a couple comics up to on an OfferUp post, and I'll go check them out. And they're like, hey, you know what? I got some other ones too. And that's what you want to hear, right? You don't want to buy, generally for me, right? I don't want to buy from collectors because they overprice and they overvalue their comics oftentimes. And I'm talking about raw specifically, right? Graded, you can't get me on graded, right? I've been studying that for about 15 years. And I know an undervalued graded comic from 100 miles away. But raw are the ones usually you're going to be looking at through OfferUp. And you can be saying to yourself, yeah, do I want to drive here 25, 30 minutes one way to go take a look at these 3 books? And for every time I go out, for every 5 times, 4 times I'm coming back empty-handed, right? Because I'm a stickler for how much I'm going to pay and what I'm interested in. And I become more careful about what I'm bringing back in. I got 15,000 raw comics. I don't need a whole lot more. And so I'm screening them pretty well as far as what I want to do. But it's that one time you go out and someone says, you know what, I got some more too, ones that weren't listed, and they may have some great comics there. And that's the case that happened. When was this? Friday? Yeah, Friday night when I looked. There were a couple Spider-Man. There was a 361 second print. For those of you who don't know, the first print, the background of the first print of 361 is white. If it has a silver background, that means it's a reprint, it's a second print. So there's a big difference in value, right? There's still some value in the second print, but it's nowhere near the first. Hey, Mert, good to see you, sir. Glad to have you here from Turkey. That's excellent. Yeah, 15. That's probably 10,000 more at least than where I want to be. I don't know. I mean, I guess there was a point where I'm like, it's fun to accumulate and get all these and have opportunities to read. But hey, Captain, ahoy, how are you? I imagine my Cover Slingers champion moniker brought you into the chat, Captain. But I think each of those things kind of gets, or at least in my case, each of those reasons has become less prevalent as time went on, right? I have a, what is that? The Marvel Unlimited app, and I can read most of the Marvel comics, at least, that I want to read with that. So that diminishes the value of having reader copies unless it's a reader copy of something that I plan on collecting in a higher grade. Putting runs together, I established like 15, 20 years ago, the runs that I want to put together. And so I don't think that's going to change. That's probably too aggressive already. So I don't really need to add more. There would be some exceptions, right? If I come across some Marvel mags or Warren mags or something like that, Tales of the Zombie would be an example of that. Ones that I don't have, but I certainly wouldn't mind collecting those. But for the most part, I'm bringing in stuff that's getting stored. And the only time I'm looking for it again is if I'm preparing for Cover Slingers or something else. There's no reason for it. There's no value. And so I'd love to get down, way down. I wouldn't mind, probably not to like a DS Comics inventory, but I wouldn't mind getting to 3,000 raw or something like that. But I've never sold a raw comic, so I'll have to kind of figure that out. Do I really want to put all that work in? Do I want to go an auction route? Do I want to jump on someone else's? I'll have to figure all that stuff out. I bought and sold hundreds of graded comics, but that's a whole different ballgame, right? So at any rate, that was my trip on Friday night. So it worked out because he had, I think he had that second print 361 and some others. But then it turned out that he had a couple cool X-Men books and some other Spider-Man, I think 298, 299. So some real good ones that are candidates for getting graded and selling, and just one of them would more than pay for what I spent on those 65 books. I spent $100 on 65 books, so about $1.50 a book, and probably the 298. No, the 299 would give me my money back. And so, like I said, there were some other good ones in there, but it's like he wanted too much, and it was late, and it was cold, and it was dark because I'm on his front porch, it's just a little light. And I was like, do I want to negotiate and have to go get more money? And I'm already 25, 30 minutes away from the house. So it's another 25, 30 to get back. And I'm thinking, and it was a lot, right? It was a full long box. So we're talking about 600 to 700. None of them in bags and boards. They're all in decent condition, surprisingly, because they weren't bagged and boarded. There were just one or two that were. But I'm thinking, hey, do I want to bring all those comics in? So I said no. But thinking back upon it, I probably should have done something, but it is what it is. I'll get too worried about that. Oh, so like I was saying on OfferUp, it's competitive here, right? After just 30 minutes, I'll see it sold on something, and it was like $400 for a Silver Surfer #1. It was probably 5.5 to 6.5 condition raw. A couple later Silver Surfers and what else? This was maybe a month and a half ago. What else was in there? I can't remember what else was in there, but that thing sold immediately, right? It's just really competitive in Phoenix because you don't have a lot of older comic books here. Werewolf, how are you, sir? Good to see you. Yeah, I remember that video. I remember that. I think 2 or 3 times he thought he might meet his demise during that deal. That was pretty funny. So, oh well, it is what it is. I think the fact that we're able to discuss perhaps missed opportunities probably means that we're all collectively pretty blessed that we have the opportunity to at least consider purchasing things that aren't necessities, right? I think that's kind of the way I look at it. It's all house money, really, when you think about it from that standpoint. So first thing I wanted to do is open up this amazing act of kindness from the one, the only, the TheJacksonRoykirk. That's either 3 first names or 3 last names. I haven't figured out which. But let's crack this open. We've got trusty box cutter made for right-handers. And here we go. All right. Knowing Jackson, this has probably been cursed by some voodoo priestess from the outskirts of New Orleans. And there's a note. I won't read that, but suffice it to say, it's in French and there's blood splattered on it. All right, let's see what we got here. Now that is packed well. Any of you kids out there, he's got some peanuts on the bottom, 2 big sturdy pieces of cardboard holding these magazine-sized books. Yeah. He sent me this earlier. This is a recording of The Tower of the Elephant and the Frost Giant's Daughter that he pulled off of a record. So I've listened to that guy twice already. It's pretty cool. What's best is Jackson did the voice of the Frost Giant's daughter. He didn't have to, but he puts in that kind of extra work. I appreciate that. All right. Check this out. These are in fantastic shape, too. So he left some good notes. This one says, Roy Thomas returns after 130 or so issues. Also, Conan recounts his life up until this point. So, Savage Sword, number 190. Very, very cool. And he checked with me. I haven't any of these 3 that he sent, which is super cool because this is one run that I'd love to put together raw. I can't afford to put them all together graded. Maybe I'll get the first 100 graded. That's kind of where I'm at, but we'll see. That's a heck of an undertaking. You'd think so, but not really. Carlos says, yeah, that's true. It is subjective. That's to me, right? And I've talked about this a lot because you have a lot of people, and I respect that. You have a lot of people that don't like graded comic books, which I get. I don't understand the anger and the angst about graded comic books. There are some people that are virulently against it, and that I don't understand. maybe they think that it jacks up the price for them buying raw comics. I'm not sure. I'm a huge proponent of graded comic books, and I'll say there are two things, right? I think it's revolutionized collecting, because now I can buy a Savage Sword of Conan #3 from someone in Germany or New York or Los Angeles and not have to quibble over the grade, because it is so subjective. He says it's a 6.5. Based on the pictures that I'm seeing, I say it's a 4.5. Or we agree because I can't see it very well, right? I'm not able to inspect it in person. I get it, and now I have a problem. I don't think it's the grade that he told me it is. It's just, it's a difficult thing, right? And so if someone that you both agree on is establishing the grade on your behalves, it's perfect. There's nothing, the biggest thing that you would quibble over would be condition. And that is removed from the equation of the transaction. So to me, I think it's amazing. I think it's revolutionized the game of collecting, buying and selling in that respect. Oh boy, there goes the chat. Dave, how are you, sir? Good to see you in here. So that's number one. Number two is, as much as I would love to live forever, I'm not going to. And unless I have no one that I care to leave my things to, ultimately someone's going to inherit my comic books. And I can tell you from personal experience and from observing the experiences of others, that if you don't at least have your big books graded, your heirs will be taken to the cleaners. I promise you that. They won't have the know-how, they won't have the means, they won't have the time or the energy to go through selling raw books for a fair price. They will get pennies on the dollar. I promise you that. I've seen it hundreds of times over. So to me, it's a way to protect your investment for your heirs as well, because it's a lot easier to go on. Hey, James, good to see you, sir. Gray Man, thanks for popping in. Let's see. Mike, how are you, sir? Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. It's a lot easier to say I have a, let's say, a Marvel Spotlight #5. If that's graded as a 6.5, the people that I've bequeathed my comics to, they can look that up on eBay. And they can look at sold items, say, okay, so it's averaging this much, we'll ask this much for it, boom. Or we can consign it to an auction. It's pretty simple to establish a fair market value for it. If they don't know how to grade, and I promise you they probably don't know how to grade, they're not going to have nearly as easy a time as selling it those routes. And if you have a lot of books, they'll probably have somebody local come over and say, hey, make me an offer for them. And that's where they're going to get taken advantage of. And you're going to get pennies on the dollar for your original investment that goes to the people that you care about. So that's my mantra, is if you've got big books, get them graded. If you don't, right? There's no sense in that. Do what's financially prudent. So those are the two main reasons. I think there are lots of reasons to get things graded, but those are the two main reasons that I always go back to. Because a lot of people say, I don't care. I don't want I don't collect that way. I don't need them graded. I like to look through them. Well, someday you're going to die. I hate to say it. Someday you won't be around. And unless you get those buried with you, then now there's somebody else's problem. And so how are you going to help maximize the return for those people that you cared enough about to leave your comic books to? That's just the way I look at it. All right. So the second one, in the wrapper even. So with these three, I guess somebody had lost interest in their subscription. Ah, okay. That is cool. Super cool. Savage Sword 192. That is awesome. Love it. And another one in the subscription package, $194. So cool. You got a cache. You discovered a nice little cache of these, Jackson, that's for sure. That is wonderful. Like I said before, I don't have any of these. And also in the wrapper, we have 193. Fantastic. Just in excellent condition. Says the name's on the back. I won't reveal, just in case it's someone in the chat. So thank you, JacksonRoykirk, for wonderful Savage Sword of Conan books, none of which I have. So that is fantastic. I appreciate that. It's quite possible. So let me get back to the chat. Yes, absolutely. It's just the way I think. I don't know, if you drink enough expensive liquor, then you might expire a little bit quicker than you planned on. I say, so I hear that a lot too, right? So get a reading copy or get a reprint. I have like 1,000 trade paperbacks. Almost any book that I care about collecting has been reprinted in a trade of some sort. It's not the case with everything, but that's the case with most of them. If it's key, if it's valuable and key, then the publishing companies know that, and they know that it gets expensive. And so if they want people to continue to consume the material, they'll reprint it so it's available in more affordable format. Surprising, isn't it? I actually had the bomb squad out to check out the package prior to opening it. that was on the down low. That was between us, Jackson. So thank you again. If you haven't checked out Jackson's channel, it is TheJacksonRoykirk. Let's see if we can do this. See if I'm clever enough. There we go. He's a big dog, but he could always use new subscribers. And he's recently put out some Star Trek promos that are really good. I think Han Solo's in most of them, but don't quote me on that. So that's TheJacksonRoykirk. All right. Yes, that was another point. Yeah, so I have the Marvel Unlimited app, which doesn't help me with DC, right? But I believe that they have a similar app that also includes some of their media, some of their movies and TV shows. I haven't tried that one out. I like DC, but I'm a bigger Marvel fan, so I went that route, and maybe at some point I'll do it with DC as well. But yeah, I'm at the point to where I've got too much stuff to read. I'm certainly not at a loss for anything to read. Oh, there you go. I think that's Star Trek New Generation, right? Excellent. Yeah, Conan's the bomb. See you, Mastodon. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'd say the Savage Sword of Conan is definitely my favorite series, probably of all time. And that's another thing. As I think about my collection, wanting to reduce it. It's just, I think my focus is shifting. It was never about getting newer books, but I started getting some dollar pickups and 50-cent pickups. So I say, yeah, that's cool. But then at some point I'm like, yeah, I'm getting a decent deal on it, but what's the end game here? I don't know. So I think I just need to think long and hard about what I'm trying to do. Yeah, that was fun. you playing, what was that, Defender or Dig Dug, something like that? I get confused with you kids and your video games, but it was fun to chat. And Genome, he's so good. He can play, and he's into fighting something, and he can still respond to the comments. There's no way I could do that. I'm not even coordinated enough to be able to play it, let alone respond to a chat that's going on at the same time. So mad props to you for that. I've done that. Yes, that's a great point, Carlos. The Glendale and the Phoenix libraries. Now, generally, I've had to swallow my pride and go into the young adult reader sections to do it, but they had lots of trades that you could check out and read, and I took advantage of that quite often. All right, what else we got? That's right, and I do drop. Well, I drop lots of things, usually after breakfast, but I do drop videos quite often. Comic Man, how are you? Good to see you. Oh yeah, yep. Such is good. Such is YouTube. What are you gonna do? All right, I figured we'll open up this bad boy. I do not know what's in here. I think this is a pickup from Goodwill, and I've gotten that, and so I want to clarify that because I've gotten some comments, probably because I wasn't very good at explaining in my scheduled videos what I meant by saying that I got this at Goodwill. I don't go to Goodwills a lot, and every time I ever have, I've never seen comic books there. But they have them all over the country. And so if you go to shopgoodwill.com, that is their auction site. And it's sort of like eBay or any other type of auction. Hey, Ruben, good to see you, sir. You will see, a plethora of objects that you would find in any Goodwill, right? But you will see hundreds upon hundreds of listings for comic books or comic book related material, whether it's toys, trade paperbacks, hardback books, costumes, so on and so forth. But lots and lots of comic books. I've been on that site for a couple of years now. It's a lot more competitive now than it used to be. But if you're looking for something in particular, and if you're willing to do the work, you can still get some good finds. I just say tread lightly. Again, it's shopgoodwill.com. That's the URL. You can set up an account, and right away you can start bidding. They have time. They have some buy it nows, but most of them are timed auctions, usually like 5 to 7 days, I think. And you can sort by highest price, most bids, ending soonest, all the things that you're used to in any type of auction environment. And if you do your work, like I said, you can minimize the possibility of getting burned. I've gotten burned a couple times, but for the most part, I've done pretty well with them because, number one, I don't get stupid. And I'm cool with letting things go when I think that they reach a point to where there's either no profitability or there's too much risk involved. But I do my work, right? They don't have great pictures. So sometimes you have to take the pictures out and blow them up to try and see some. They won't show all the books most of the time. So you have to be able to look at the side of a book or the top of a book and run through and try to determine which of these series of books it could be. I think where some people get in trouble is when they see potential runs that don't have keys, but because they don't oftentimes show pictures of all the books in that particular lot, they make assumptions that those keys are present, but they just weren't within the pictures. So it could be a big risk, right? I don't do that. I take the Storage wars approach. I only bid on what I see. I don't assume that there's anything else of value that isn't specifically pictured. And it's goodwill too, right? So unless they're bagged and boarded, which oftentimes they are, most of the time they're not, but unless they're bagged and boarded, or you can see the pictures clearly and they seem to be in good condition, chances are they could be beat to hell. So all that to say that there are certainly some possibilities or some opportunities at shopgoodwill.com to get some good deals, but it is probably the riskiest comic book site that you'll ever shop on. So you got to put in the work. If you're not willing to put in the work, you're going to lose at it. Simple as that. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Jeez. Biggie Shack, good to see you. Thanks for stopping in, sir. So I say that because I think this is a Goodwill purchase. And it is. All right, so let's see what we got here. All right, check. And it was packed well for raw, unbagged and unboarded comics, right? Well, I guess they were bagged, one big bag, but that doesn't really count. So, what did I pay? I paid with shipping, and you can put in your zip code, and it'll say, you can calculate shipping, so you know exactly how much it's going to be, not counting whatever applicable tax there is. So I paid $34, including shipping, for this lot. So I'm not gonna show it real quickly. New Teen Titans, 24, 23. Tales of the Teen Titans, 61. New Teen Titans, 36. And they're all in pretty good condition for not having been in bags and boards. 32. There you go. 33. Tails, 63. 62. 42. Yeah, 42. 43. 44. That's a good one. And so if I'm looking at this, which I am, saying this is a nice mid-grade, we're breaking, there's a color rub at the top there, little tick at the top that breaks color rub at the bottom here, but this could press a little bit dirty on the back. This could press into a 9.0 maybe. This one's a decent book, but not in great condition. Look at that rat. How you doing? Oh yeah, that's if you're talking about cover slingers, that's the fun of it for me, right? If I can't talk smack, I mean, that's why I like doing it. I think that's why half the chat likes showing up. Yeah, I bet. I bet. He's been hooking ever since. Annual number 3. Number 1. New Teen Titans 22. Tales 64. This is a decent one. Tales number 1. I had that in a 9.2 slab that I traded along with, I think, 3 other slabs for some raw books with someone locally, which was cool. I did a video. It hasn't come out yet, though. Spotlight on Starfire. So Teen Titans Spotlight, number 1. Never heard of that one. Tales number 2. New Titans 31. Number 3. Number 4, Tales. Here's another one of those spotlights. Number 2. Yeah, I know. Good point. But I know, I guess that's the difference, is I know that I can make money on these. New Teens 39, but I'm sure I said that all those other books do. So still a valid point, James. Tales 41. New 28. New 25. $30. 21. 23. 24. 12. 26. 'I don't think so. What's up, Brad? Good to see you, by the way. I don't think I've seen it yet. 16. 17. 27. 38. 37. 35. And 16. So that is it. Those are the Teen Titans books that we got. I will look back through. I don't remember seeing it, Brad. But yeah, it's a decent little pickup. So I'd have to count them, but I think I got maybe 50 cents a book or so. Not sure. But that is it. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Oh yeah, there's one other thing I want to talk about, and that is DS Comics. So how in the world is this dude still at just 772 subscribers? That blows my mind. Maybe it's because I'm in line with the type of stuff that he collects, but really good dude, good member of the community, active on IG. He's on the No Faces chat regularly. He's on the Golden Guys live streams regularly. He'll put out his own videos. Oftentimes he'll do long live streams and really talk about everything under the sun. Doesn't censor himself much. Just really good guy, respectful, but kind of gives you his opinion, and is usually pretty good about having solid evidence, or at least examples, to defend whatever stance he takes on any particular situation, and he'll talk about just about anything. But yeah, DS Comics, if you haven't checked him out, it will be a pleasure for you to do so, and then sub him up, please. He's fantastic. Big time Golden Age collector, particularly with pre-code horror and some Atom Age, Golden Age war books. But that'll do it for me. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Hope everyone has a wonderful Sunday evening and tackles the work week quickly next week and gets through to next week. And every Friday, I got a long list, right, about everybody that can kiss my Rorensky. And then Monday morning, I drag myself back into work and pretend like that never happened. So that's it. Appreciate you guys. Always remember, we're taking over the world one comic book at a time.